I'm delighted to be joined by the leader of the DUP's MPs here in Westminster. And I just want to start with a report that the Tory Brexiter, Jacob Rees-Mogg, gave only about an hour ago of a meeting that he had with you earlier today. And he reported to his Brexiter colleagues that you had said that the only condition in which you would support the government in a vote of confidence was that she must have lost her vote on Tuesday on her Brexit plan. So I just want to start by just asking you a very simple question. Are you saying tonight 100% that you will be voting against that Brexit plan?
Yes, we'll be voting against the Brexit plan as things stand. I can't see much being changed that will be effective. We will vote against her plan because it's bad for the United Kingdom, certainly bad for Northern Ireland, given the legal advice that we have forced out of the government today. And clearly, if that is defeated, then it would be somewhat illogical, having achieved our aim, trying to get to a better deal. It would be a bit illogical then to turn around the next day and say, right, let's vote the government out. I think then we start on a process to try to get a better deal.
So just, there's lots more to come back on, particularly the attorney's advice, but just on this whole issue of what they might be able to do to get you to change your mind before Tuesday, one of the things that the whips have been talking about, that officials have been, actually were talking to me about yesterday, was that they are thinking of offering MPs a vote before any backstop would be introduced. Now, I've talked to Tory Brexiters. They're not very impressed with this as a way of making sure that the kind of Brexit, the kind of backstop they hate won't come in. If you're offered that, will that make any difference?
Well, I don't see what that really accomplishes. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the withdrawal treaty. It doesn't have any effect on that whatsoever. I think it's a bit of a mechanism. You usually find in these circumstances where people are in trouble, the government of the day, they offer Parliament a vote. But, you know, ministers would be bound by the ministerial code because an internationally binding treaty would have been introduced to promote and defend and implement that treaty. So they would be going around saying, we have to vote this through. So it's not an effective break. It doesn't really change anything.
Now, the Chief Whip, Julian Smith, indicated to Tory Brexiters at the European Research Group meeting that he does not expect the Prime Minister to go back to Brussels and ask for anything different before Tuesday. So just finally, just again, absent her being able to change the withdrawal agreement before Tuesday, just to be absolutely clear, there is nothing she can do. You will vote against.
No, I think the attorney's advice that's now out there, I think, has galvanised everybody in their opinion of what this really means. It would mean trapping the United Kingdom into a terrible position in relation to the leverage that it gives the European Union in future negotiations, never mind the awful position it puts Northern Ireland vis-à-vis the rest of the United Kingdom in terms of the backstop actually being implemented.
But, you know, you signed a partnership agreement with the government, which technically at least it exists. It doesn't, I don't know whether it's being honoured so much in the spirit, as it were, since you have been voting against them in some pretty important votes recently, but they are supposed to be your partners. When you saw the legal advice, how let down did you feel? Because the legal advice is not what Parliament, and I assume you were told, was the nature of the backstop.
Well, you use the word partnership, and that's a good way to put it, because partnership is a two-way thing. And we agreed with the government in terms of implementing Brexit that it would be on the basis of our shared priorities. And what were they? Delivering the Brexit that people voted for in the referendum for the UK, but on the basis of the whole of the United Kingdom, not leaving part of the United Kingdom behind in the customs union and in single market regulations. Some people may think that that might be a good thing for the United Kingdom, but you cannot have a situation where the Northern Ireland is separated off.
But when can I just ask you, when you saw these words from the Attorney General, that Great Britain would essentially be treated as a third country by Northern Ireland when it came for goods passing from Great Britain, I mean, that use of the word third, did you feel betrayed?
I think that has really cut home to a lot of people. It is a devastating, I describe this as devastating, because it shows in terms that we're in actually the EU customs union, GB, to treat Northern Ireland as a third country. We're tied into it, despite talk of it not being permanent, that it's indefinitely and at the behest of the EU, whether they ever let us out of it if we go into it. Yes, this is very, very wounding. This is not the basis on which we agreed with the Conservative and Unionist Party to deliver Brexit. And what is particularly concerning about it is the Prime Minister in February came to the House of Commons and said that no British Prime Minister could ever sign up to customs and regulatory borders between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. And this is precisely what she has done.
Well, precisely. And this is not the first time that you have said to me that you feel personally let down by the Prime Minister, that she has said one thing to you and done something different. So you have just said that if she loses her vote, you would support the government in a confidence motion. But can you really now trust the Prime Minister to deliver on the kind of Brexit that you think is acceptable? Because there's one thing supporting the Tory party. Can you trust this Prime Minister?
Well, look, as I've said to you before, our deal is with the Conservative Party. It's not with Theresa May or any particular politician. It is for the Conservative Party to decide who its leader is and what way it wants to proceed. We're making it very, very clear that the policy, the deal that the Prime Minister has put forward is not one that honours the spirit of the Confidence and Supply Agreement, and it's certainly not one we can support. And that would obviously have implications. If it went through with the support of Parliament, that would have consequences. But I am very confident things stand now that will not happen.
All right, but just so I think there are just two or three things I just need to pick up with you on. You are categorically saying, I think, that if this deal is passed, you would then support the opposition if they tried to bring the government down.
Well, look, let us...
Are you saying that in 100%?
No, well, look, I'm not going to use words because I don't think that will come about. I think it's, without any shadow of doubt now, highly unlikely that this deal is going to get through, given the coalition of virtually everybody in the House of Commons, bar somebody said today it was like the government payroll and those who wish to get onto the government payroll.
But there is something extraordinary about what you're saying. You're broadly saying that she has a choice, which is it's her deal or the government collapses.
Well, that's the risk that the government runs at the moment. That's the risk that the Prime Minister is running. But even before we get to the point of calling a general election, what I would say to the government and any Conservative MPs who may be thinking of voting for this, how do they think that they're going to get, even if this vote squeaks through, how do they get the withdrawal bill through after that? How do they get all the other legislation that needs to get through the House of Commons? You don't actually have to call a general election without realising how difficult this would put the government's position in. There's a long way to go before we get to all of that, because I don't think that the government has any real chance of getting this through the House of Commons, because everybody realises that it's the worst of all worlds. It's bad for those who voted for Remain, because, you're giving up all your control, your say, your voice, as Sam has put it, with still taking the rules. And for Leavers, it's not Brexit as they voted for it.
Now, unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but I just got one very simple question, which I know that you say that it's a matter for the Tory party who their leader is, but given where we are today, would it be easier for the DUP to work with the Tory party if they had a different leader?
It's easier to implement the Confidence and Supply Agreement fully. We have honoured our side of it. If the policy has changed, if the way we go forward in Brexit is the way that was agreed with us, one United Kingdom leaving the European Union together, it's that really matters to us.
But if this leader is not going to deliver that to you, your view would be the Tory party has to change their leader.
Well, look, I'm not going to offer advice or dictate to the Tory party who their leader should be. That's a matter for them. I think there's a lot of discussion going on within the Conservative Party without me adding my tuppence worth to it.
Very good to see you, Nigel, and come back soon.